Okay. Hey guys, so this is going to be a pretty quick, hopefully, crash course on Emacs. I just want to talk about Emacs, and what I'm not going to do is make it look cool, and it's not going to be all comprehensive. The goal is get you up and running crash course, and I'm not going to sell you on Emacs. So if you found this video, it's probably because you're looking into it, and hopefully it's helpful if you want to consider making the switch from whatever you're doing. And if you do want to get sold on it, I kind of recommend this video here.
Hard to do.
On YouTube, called Evil Mode, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Emacs. If you prefer Vim keys, you can use Evil Mode. I'm just going to show you literally just the vanilla Emacs keys for the most part, though. And just a little bit of what it can do. And yeah, so let's get right to it. So I just have plain vanilla Emacs installed. No like Spacemacs or Doom or any of these other frameworks that give you a ton of features and are pretty cool. But this is just vanilla because no matter which, if you decide to use one of those, like let's say you want to use Spacemacs. So you found Spacemacs, it sounds like you might want it. It looks nice. Scrolling through the GitHub, and or Doom Emacs, same kind of thing. Okay, cool. You can be a hacker, but any of these frameworks that you use, you still need to know the basics of how to run vanilla Emacs. So that's what this is hopefully going to cover. The things that will work everywhere, that are kind of transcendental of whatever you end up doing. If you want to roll your own custom, if you want to use or try Spacemacs or Doom Emacs, hopefully this video gets you up and running. So here we go. Oh, by the way, so one thing I really recommend to people who do decide to commit and stick on Emacs is to swap your left Control and left Alt key. And I already made a video about that. It's a little like 5-minute short one. And it's called Emacs Hacking 00, Avoid RSI, and Emacs Pinky Once and For All. So maybe watch that one first. So about vanilla Emacs, so I'm going to open Emacs. First thing I do is I'm going to open from a basic terminal, and I'm going to open Emacs from there. And the reason I want to do that is because it's the easiest way to make Emacs inherit your environment, which when you're doing some more advanced type of coding or something later, you might really care about Emacs getting your environment variables and path and things like that. And you're probably editing like a ZSHRC or a bashrc file to pass those things in, depending on what you're doing. So I'm just in a habit of opening it from the console. Okay, so here's Emacs. It's definitely nothing pretty. And so, but this is a powerful editor. So the very first thing to do is how to type. Okay, arrow keys work, obviously. Left, right, up, down. But what you want to do is get in the habit of, with your hands, so Control P, like as in previous, is up. Control N is down. Control P is up. Control N is down. Control B is in, like N is in next, is down. And then Control B as in back. And Control F as in forward. So just practice these a little bit until you get used to them. And you can just kind of ice skate around. It's your first step. Control P, Control N, Control F, Control B. You should be able to do this where it becomes you're not thinking about it anymore, because then we can start thinking about code. But this has to become second nature. Okay. And now we're going to do Control A. Jump you to the beginning. Like A is in the first letter of the alphabet to the beginning. Most of these are mnemonics for your memory. Control E is in the end, goes to the end of the line. Control A, beginning of the line. E, end of the line. Okay. Now, if you go Alt A, it's going to go to the beginning of the paragraph. And Alt E is the end of the paragraph. Okay. Alt A, Alt E, Alt A, Alt E, Control A, Control E, and then back, Control P, Control N, Control B, Control F. Now, if we want to jump to the beginning of a word, it's going to be the same thing but Alt. So Alt B. Now we're jumping words backwards. And Alt F is words forwards. Okay. So Control P, Control N, Control F, Control B, Alt F, Alt B. Okay. Control A, beginning of the line. Control E, end of the line. Alt A, beginning of the paragraph. Alt E, end of the paragraph. So that's the basics of navigation. Now we can still use our mouse. Nothing wrong with that. You can highlight that way too quickly sometimes. Okay. Now if I want to highlight with the keyboard, let's do Alt A to jump to the beginning of this paragraph. I want to highlight the whole paragraph, so Control Space is going to activate this for us. And it says mark set. Now, let's just use our normal navigation keys we already went over, and we can highlight whatever we want. Or Alt E, just the whole paragraph, and it's highlighted. Now if I want to copy it, it's not Control C, it's going to be Alt W, and you just have to know that. Alt W. Okay? In fact, let's get this whole buffer. So to jump to the top of a file, it's you're going to hit Alt Shift lesser than. Okay? And then Alt Shift greater than is the end of the file. So I'm going to Alt Shift lesser than, Control Space, Alt Shift greater than, and I'm going to Alt W. Okay, now it's highlighted and it's copied into the clipboard. If I want to create a new file, I'm going to Control XF, type in the file name. We can open a file this same way too, if it existed. Then we'll give it a text extension, hit enter. Now the file's open. It doesn't exist on the disk yet until you save it. Control X, Control S, save. Okay, now it exists. So, how do we paste the whole thing that we copied? It's Control Y. Okay, there we go. And now, how do we, okay, we know how to highlight, but if I don't want to copy, what if I want to cut? Copy was Alt W, like that. Now, if I wanted to cut it, it's Control W. Now it's cut. I can backspace a little bit, go back down here, press enter, and Control Y. And there it is. I just reordered it. Now, what if I don't like the order and I want to put it back? How do you undo? It's going to be Control Slash, and it's called a kill ring. And you can hit it multiple times. So Control Slash, it's gone, and then Control Slash again, and again, and again, and there it is. So now it's back to how it was. And this is the state of the file as it is saved. So when it's modified in a way that is not saved, to show you that you're editing a file but it's not saved, it'll tell you down here, it'll put a little star down here in the bottom left where my mouse is kind of moving around. So I'll show you again. When we redo in the unsaved state, there will be a star down there, but also this is how to redo. So it's actually the same key, Control Slash. However, first you need to hit Control G. Okay, so Control G, and then Control Slash, and Control Slash, and Control Slash, and Control Slash. And now it's back at the bottom. So you can think of it like a kill ring where Control Slash goes backwards in one way, And then if you hit Control G and then Control / again, it starts redoing back in the other way. And then if you hit Control G and then Control / it starts going back the other way in a circle. And it's that way just because of historic reasons. I'm used to it by now. Some people modify their Emacs to be more like their other editors. I just got used to it the Emacs way. This is vanilla Emacs, so why not learn it this way? So we'll put that back up here with some control slashes. Now, the next thing probably after moving around, cutting, copying, pasting, saving, creating a file would be, how do we just get rid of this whole line, like this section here? So to do that, you can just hit Control K, as in kill the line. Kill the line. And then Control / I'm going back. Maybe try that a few times. And when you Control K a line, now you can paste it over and over if you want it. It's in there. Control / to undo my mess. Okay. So I would say that's the basics of moving around. Control F, Control B, Control N, Control P, Alt F, Alt B. And by the way, it might be helpful to increase the keyboard repeat speed so that you can kind of ice skate around. And let's see, the next thing would probably be to search a file. So like if I wanted to jump down to this word here, Darwin, it stands out. Maybe I want to jump down there for some reason. So I'll hit Control S, as in search. I'll start typing in Darwin. I'm already there. I'll hit enter, and now I'm there. Now how do we go backwards search? It's Control R. So like up here is this word GNU. Maybe that's where I want to go. So I'll hit Control R, and then I'll just type in GNU and press enter. Well, it took me to the first one. So if I want to go through, and it highlights the others. So if I want to go through up to the top one, what I'm gonna do is Control R, GNU again, and now hit enter. That's the first one. Now Control R, GNU, and then before hitting enter, to get to the one I want, I'll hit Control R again, and now I'm on the one above it, and then again, now I'm up here at this one where I was planning to go. I'll hit enter. Now, if I want to just delete this whole word, it's Alt D, as in delete. And again, anything you do like that, it automatically copies it or cuts it. So you can paste it with the Control Y. Okay. So that's the basics of Emacs navigation. From here, Emacs has some other stuff. It has a lot of built-in tools. It's more than just a text editor, but it starts here. Control X to save. Now, if I want to close the file, I don't know why I'd close a file. Usually, I tend to just leave everything open, and it's fine. But Control X and then K. So Control X is one move, and then just K as in kill. And it asks me, do you want to kill the buffer, which is the file? Yes. So it defaults to the one that's open. So I'll just hit enter. Okay, and it actually killed it. Now we're back on the intro. This is not an editable file. I can't type into it. To reopen it, Control X F, and I don't remember what it was saved as, so I can actually hit tab here twice and just kind of get a view of things. And I have some files, and I think I called it new file.txt. So I'm gonna start typing it just like NEW and then tab, and okay, it's like expected, and enter. So now I'm back in the file we had to open. So from here, that is that's our basics. Now, like if we wanted to open a file for like to write a script, like maybe a bash script, those usually end in .sh. So like I'll do that. Some script .sh, and we'll start coding. Now we automatically get syntax highlighting that's good for bash, and we can just you know, start, we can do something. We can code into bash, no problem. Whatever. And it's like coding. And from here, it'll work. It changes its modes. We should probably get into modes. So every file should have one major mode and can have unlimited minor modes. Your major mode is typically, like, if it's bash, then it's probably some type of shell script major mode. If it's Python, it's probably the Python major mode. If it's Ruby, it's probably the Ruby major mode. And then minor modes can be things like well, let's just look at what I got. So if we hit Control H as in help, and then M, it'll start showing us information about our modes in another window pane over here. Which the next question is, how do we do stuff like that, I guess? So when a new window pops open like that, you can hit Control X, O as in other, to jump into the other mode. So here we are. Control X, O, back up here. Control X, O, other, down here. Now, the major mode is sh- mode. It's for shell script. It does like syntax highlighting and indentation and things like that. Now, if we Control V is page down, and Alt V is page up. So Control V, and we start seeing some minor modes that are on by default. Like, for example, blink cursor minor mode is on. That's why the block is blinking. Maybe we'll turn that off later. So, oh, hey man, welcome back for HF8. I'm just like making an Emacs tutorial. I'm gonna upload it later. If you want to chill here, feel free, bro. How are you today? Anyways, I was just talking about major modes and minor modes, and probably need to go back and watch this. I'm not sure how long you've been here, but anyways, so that's how we can see what modes are on. Now, if what I want to do is get rid of blink cursor mode, well, now we're talking about customizing vanilla Emacs. So if you want to customize it, like if you're a Vim user, typically there's a vimrc file and you edit that and you set all your things that you want to customize. But if in Emacs, no, it's in your .emacs.d directory /init.el, that's where you put your stuff. So like if I wanted to get rid of blink cursor mode, I guess let's do that. So we'll customize. So Control X, oh, I'm jumping over here. Control X, okay, I'm gonna close this file. And then now if I wanted to get back to where this bottom window pane is totally closed, it's Control X1. Now it's gone. And Control X2, so for example, if I do Control X2 here, it makes a horizontal duplicate. And then I can I could reopen that file up here, or let's do it back below, just for fun. Or the script I had. Some script, yeah. So there we go. And then I can jump over here. Now, if I wanted to go vertical, we can do that too. So Control X1 to kind of get out of this and make the current window I'm in focused. Like, you'll see. Control X1. Now Control X3 is going to go vertical. And now if I jump over here with Control XO and then Control XF and open the file, now I'm over here. And now I can kind of jump back and forth. Whoops. Anytime you accidentally screw up and hit something wrong in Emacs, like let's say I hit Alt X and I'm like, what is this? And I don't know how to get out of this. Control G. You can hit Control G, like think of it like escape in Vim. Control G. Anyways, So if we're going to customize Emacs, we'll go to Control X F and then open Emacs.d and then find init.el. Doesn't even exist, so we're going to make it. And then we can just start typing in Emacs Lisp in here to customize. So we were looking at our minor modes over here, and the blink cursor mode. I need to, everything in Emacs is a function. So if I find the function of what it's called, blink cursor mode, it looks like, and it takes an optional argument. So typically a positive number means turn it on and a negative number means turn it off. It goes on to explain that here. So basically, I think that if I go over here and we punch in blink cursor mode, and how did I complete that? It's alt slash, like alt slash, and then 1 is on. So let's go -1, and then we don't even have to save the file, but we could. We probably should. So Control X, Control S. But if you want to test this code without closing and reopening Emacs, what you can do is evaluate this region or this line. So Alt X, eval dash, and then hit tab here. Gives you some options. We'll do defun the function. And now what you see is that the cursor is not blinking. Okay. So that's kind of how to edit Emacs on the fly. So if I go back, Control B, Control B, Control B, and then Control D will delete just this character. And now jump back out to the end of the brackets. Alt X and eval fun. Now we're blinking again. Okay, that's the basics of how to customize Emacs and get up and going. Basic navigation keys, window panes, jumping across window panes, creating a file, copy, paste, cut, all that stuff. So super crash course, super fast. If you were learning this way, sorry, but just watch it a couple times and I'll try to follow along, and then you probably got it. There's something called Dured, which is pretty neat. It's included in Emacs, which is a file browser. So to get to Dured, it's Control X and then just D is in Dured. And then you can press enter, or you can navigate around and then open like my home directory in the file manager. Okay, these couple grayed out files is actually, I have another Emacs window open on the side with it's not saved. If I save it, then what will happen is those should go away. Pretty much, one of them did. The other, apparently I still have new file unopened in an unsaved state. So this is like a lock file that tells someone else, hey, this file's being worked on, don't edit it. It's kind of like old school text editing shit. So I could actually save it and then close it, and then press G to reload in Dured, and then it kind of cleans up. Anyways, and these here are like backup files. They're super annoying. Most of the Emacs frameworks like turns these off, the ones that have the tilde at the end. Mine does too. It's called Spartan Emacs. But this is just vanilla Emacs, so we're going to deal with the mess that Emacs makes by default until we get to customizing it later. But anyway, from here, I would say next thing we want to do is okay, customizing. Let's talk about how to jump between two open files. So if I open like this file called Emacs Basics, which is what I'm talking about, and then if we open also that new file .txt. Now if I want to jump back to the other one, it's Control X and then B. Okay, and it'll jump by default back to the one that I was just on, and then Control X B again and back to where I was, and then Control X B and then back again. Okay. Now, if I didn't want to jump to that one, but another open file, if I had a third one open, I could do Control X, B, and then hit kind of tab here and see what's going on. Look, like I also have init.el open. So if I kind of help myself with INI and hit tab there, then I can jump there. Okay. Okay. So that about covers the basics of navigation, I think. And then let's talk about the beginning screen now. It's important. So beyond this YouTube video, which may or may not be helpful, you can do Alt-X about-Emacs. And in here, there's all kinds of stuff, including now that you know how to click around, you can go down here where it says Emacs tutorial and hit enter. Okay. So the very first thing it's going to talk about is like Emacs, what's it called? Like nomenclature? No, notation. So for example, C-X space K. That means Control X and then K. Okay. So over here in my other window, I have some examples of that. M means alt or meta, another historical thing. So if we hit Alt-X, okay, it goes here, down there, and this is Alt-X is almost kind of like the Emacs console or something. Like you can access any function that's interactive through here. If you hit tab, you can kind of tab through. There's a million things that nobody probably reads this. But all of these are options that we could choose, and a lot of them are bound to keys, but not all of them are bound to keyboard shortcuts. And then if I wanted to get out of this again, it's Control G. Okay. So if we wanted to start something with Alt-X, we could, we just got to Alt-X about Emacs, because I know it, and it takes us back to the beginning. And then we chose the tutorial. There's also a manual. And these are actually interactive, so if you go through it all, you can spend your time here and really dig in if you really wanted to. But this is just a crash course, so we're not doing that. Okay. So C-X space C-F. That means Control X, Control F. All in one move. So just 1, 2. And then we can find files here. So then hit tab. You can always hit tab if you want to pop it up and get to the next thing. Kind of browse around. So if I wanted to go to like my repos and hit tab again and look around, I could. Or I could hit like Alt backspace to get all the way back here to my home directory. And then hit enter if I want. Now I'm in Dured. It automatically opens up Dured, which was Control X D. So the next thing in Dured, like let's say I'm browsing around. Let's say I jump in repos. Now I want to create a new folder. So I could hit the plus symbol. That's the plus for create a directory. And then just type in like new directory, like sudo shred. Hit enter. Now I created a folder directory. Okay. Now I can hit enter to dive into it. I can hit Q to jump back, as in quit. Or I can hit enter, or I can also hit the uptick thing. Shift 6. That'll also take you back. So inside of here, let's say inside of sudo shred, I wanted to create a new file. So like Control X F, new file. Oops, I put a space in there. New file .text. Hit enter now, blah, typing Control X S, save, Control X K, close it. And it's like, hey, where's the file? Well, it just doesn't automatically update. You just hit G, it reloads stuff. Okay, so that's the basics of Dured. If I want to rename it, I'll hit capital R on it. And that moves the file. And capital D will delete it. And then it makes you type it all out by default. So yes. Okay, and then it's gone. And then Q, quits, delete this whole directory. Sure, it's cleaned up. Okay, so that's the basics of Dured. There's more, I'm sure. We could go all day about features of Emacs, but I'm just trying to give the minimal crash course. Let's see if I had anything else I was hoping to go over before I kill this. Oh yeah, there was. So, yeah. I was going to talk about init.el. So let's reopen that again. So .emacs.d/init.el, right? And so far in our configuration, all we've done is turn blink cursor mode off and then on, and then so let's just reload it. Yeah, so it's solid. There's a crap load of stuff we could do here. So basically, like if I open mine, I've been working on my same Emacs config for 8 years. It's called Spartan Emacs. And okay, so there's a lot of stuff. This init.el file does a lot of stuff, and it loads other files. I'm not gonna go over all this right now, but basically I kind of know where to look. So if I look in this file, it'll kind of give me some ideas of how we can clean things up a little bit. So like this right here, if we copy and paste, and you can do this to people's configs. A lot of people share stuff around. So I'm gonna go over here, just copy paste all of my stuff, Alt X, eval buffer. And now we got rid of a lot of stuff that makes it look pretty clunky by default. And that's kind of the idea. And a lot of people comment their configs, a lot of people don't. And if you're curious what something does and there's no comment, one cool thing about Emacs is it's self-discoverable. So like if I jump over this function name, like toolbar mode, what's that do? I can just hit anywhere on this string. I can hit Control HF as in help function, Control HF, and then hit enter. And now it tells me all about it. We can even jump into the source code. We can go nuts. So Emacs is totally exposed and self-documenting in this way, which is one of the cool things about it that I think a lot of beginner tutorials are not going to get into. So Control HF is about functions. Now, what if we had a variable? You know, there's a lot of variables. For example, if we, they usually start with setQ. So yeah, let's look at these. If we take a look at some of these, we won't modify them yet, but let's just look at the default settings, like ring bell function, right down here on line 50. So this is a default variable for Emacs that does something depending on how it's configured. And if we wanted to know what it's set to by default, we'll just type in Control HV as in a variable and pretend we know what we're looking for, like ring, bell, and tab. Okay, there's only one thing like that. And hit enter here. And now we learn a little bit about the function. It's currently defined as nil, or null, but in Emacs it's nil. It's unset, which does mean something. It means to call the function ring bell, which I think is the annoying beeping sound, like when I can't go down any further. For example, I hate that. So that's probably why in my defaults for Emacs, I set it to ignore in my personal configuration. And funny, how do we know that that's an option? You can get into this interactive customization thing. That's probably where I discover. I don't like to mess with that though. Personally, I never mess with this stuff. I would hit Q out of this. And most of these things are commonly found online. And in this case, we know, just like this, that it needs to be set to ignore. with a single quote like Lisp thing in front of it. So ignore. Okay. And now if we evaluate the buffer again. Okay. And now it's still beeping at me because I don't know why. But I didn't specify a function symbol. Oh, right. Because it's not a function. This is not a function. It was a variable. It needs to be prefixed with setq. It's like setq is like define a variable. Think of it like that. So anyway, now let's evaluate it again. Okay. And now I bet you it's not going to beep at me anymore if I try to control N too far down here. Yep, it's quiet. So that kind of is how we define variables inside of setqs. We can do multiple if we had other stuff here, like other var, you know, whatever, blah. And yeah. By the way, if I want to delete this whole word backwards, I'm just hitting Control backspace through all this, and then Control slash, put it back. So that's kind of how to define variables, and then some things are functions. So if I wanted to look again at how it works, Control H F, enter will tell me about a function. I'm down here on a variable, Control H V, as in variable, will tell me about a variable. And notice it's now set as ignore. So Control H V is very helpful sometimes on a variable of learning its current state of what it's set as in Emacs programmatically. And then we already went over Control H M to show which major mode I'm in and kind of the basics of it. And then it gets into all the minor modes that are turned on, where these are some of the minor modes here. For example, we went over blink cursor mode especially, and then we changed some other minor modes to customize. So that's kind of how to dig into the nuts and bolts of your Emacs configuration while you're configuring. I hope that was helpful. Remaining to go over would be, well, most people want to install like a package. Maybe, okay, you know the basics, Emacs keys, but actually you do like Vim keys. Maybe you want evil mode. Okay. Evil mode is great if you're a Vim user. It does all the things Vim does. So you should still learn the basic Emacs keys for when things get screwed up. And you'll kind of hybrid things, like you might want to Alt X something once in a while you're working, even though you're in evil mode. So it's good to, that covers the basics of vanilla Emacs. Everybody should know that if you're an Emacs user. But install a package like evil mode and get going. So the most quickest way to do that would be just like go to the evil mode GitHub. And there's lots of package managers for Emacs, of course, like almost any programming language. This is the default one, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but it's a good start. And it's included. So we're just going to do this, just like this. And we're going to drop it in. Okay, that was Control Y to paste. Uses melpa, which is like a repo. Official repo type thing. And unofficial, I think. And okay, so it does lots of stuff and basically updates the repos, and then it's going to install evil, and then it's going to load evil, and it's going to turn on evil. Okay, so let's save this. And then, for example, if we closed Emacs, that's Control X, Control C, and it wants me to like save this file I had open. Sure, let's save it, and then go back to my terminal and let's reopen Emacs. And if we look closely, it's loading melpa because I saved that file with the init. And it's going to install evil, hopefully. All right. So evil mode is here. We're on it. The first time it loads, it kind of gives this thing. It's compiling the Emacs Lisp and stuff for like performance reasons. We can just like Control X0 in this window to make it go away. Okay, so this is normal, and it won't do that again if we reopen it. So Emacs. Okay. So there we go. Now, Emacs is already in evil mode because of the way we set it up in init.el. What's interesting about evil mode is like, yeah, Control X, Control F will open a file like expected before, and Control G will. But now also though, just by default, our Vim keys are here. So like K is up, J is down, L is right, H is left, W jumps words, E jumps to the end of the word, B jumps backwards. Okay. Slash is search. It's kind of the same thing as before. Shift slash the question mark is reverse search. You know, and I can just kind of jump around. DD would copy that whole line, but it's read-only, so it didn't delete the line in that case. We could use colon E to do things. W, quit, or it's all there. And then from here we could hit escape, or you can hit Control G also, just like in vanilla Emacs. But I'll hit escape that time. So now you have evil mode. Okay. In another video, I think I'll go over like a more mature one, which I made, is like, I call it Spartan Emacs. It tries to stay minimal and fast, and use all the latest performance tweaks and stuff for actually getting pretty deep into it and a little more serious. LSP auto completion and stuff like that. But that's another day. I just wanted to go over the basics that you should use, that you should know how to use on any Emacs configuration. So hopefully it's all there, and I'm gonna go for now. Thank you.